Why is it always when I say that you can't say anything that people say things? I must speak in Latin. I'm going to start working differently from that. Good morning.
Good morning.
So I have read your motion, Mr. Browning. Is there anything you want to add before I elicit any responses from Ms. Russo?
I don't believe that the situation has changed. I don't think that my client is yet getting any parenting time, so I believe that our motion stands on its own, Your Honor.
Okay. And I think one of the reasons why is because of plaintiff's move to Saginaw. Is that where you reside now, Ms. Russo?
Yes, sir. And I did make the defendant aware or plaintiff aware of that before moving. I gave him almost 2 months' notice before I did so. And I'd like to add that my circumstances have not changed other than the move.
Well, I think it's interesting because Saginaw, as the crow flies, is still under crime. But Mr. Browning, anything you want to add?
Well, now that we've established what exactly her address is, there might be an issue of having moved 100 miles away or more, as the crow flies, as you hinted, from Mr. Hodges. I think that one's going to be very close. And so she may have moved out of the range at which she would have been required to remain. But again, the largest issue is that he hasn't seen these children at all.
That's true. I don't. That is not.
I would like to respond, Your Honor, with saying that if you look the distance up from Belding, Michigan to Saginaw, Michigan, it is 88.8 miles.
Yeah, but why would I want to know what the distance is from Belding to Saginaw?
Because the plaintiff lives in Belding, Michigan, and I reside in Saginaw, Michigan. So it's 88 miles that I moved away.
How far is it from the courthouse, Ms. Russo?
I think it is 114 to the courthouse.
And what do you think we count?
I'm not sure, Your Honor.
Yes.
I'm guessing the courthouse then.
You're right.
Okay.
All right. The interesting part about that is that, well, let me just make the findings here. So it looks like the last custody order was sometime in 2020, because there's a judgment of paternity and a judgment of support, as opposed to, I think there's 2 kids involved, and I'll use their initials, ALH and HLH. I believe that's what we're talking about here. Motion was adjourned. I remember this motion from back in September of 24 because I shut it down because there was no service at that point, and Mr. Browning and or his client did not have the address of what's going on. So the only change of circumstances is somewhat a big one. That's the relocation anywhere. So I think pursuant to Shade v. Wright, cite on that is 291 Michigan Appeal 17, a 2010 case. I find that a threshold has been made to reopen the issue of parenting time because, in my view, the parties' poor cooperation and lack of communication does constitute a change of circumstance to revisit parenting time. The relevant factor, best interest factor, is found at MCL 722.23J because it diminishes each parent's ability to encourage a close and continuing parent-child relationship between the other parent and the children. That was set forth in an unpublished decision of Bauman versus Hartman, which is not precedentially binding on the court, but it is certainly persuasive. Also, I would note that pursuant to the case of Sims versus Verbrugge, and I know I'm talking Latin to you, Ms. Russo.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's all right. But pursuant to Sims versus Verbrugge, 322 Mishap 205, a 2017 case, since this is a support matter and legal custody was not judicially determined, I'm going to send the issue of legal custody, not physical custody, and parenting time. The fees for that, are you currently working, Ms. Russo?
I am.
And Mr. Hodges, are you employed?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Then the fees for that, $150 a piece, will be split. I'm also going to order Mr. Browning, our family wizard, that both parties subscribe to that within the next 14 days. And they can use all communication relative to the children through that. And any emergencies, they can use text if they need to. Now, I generally, in these cases, Mr. Browning, reserve mediation pursuant to MCR 3.216 as to an interim schedule to come up with while we're making our ways through the front of the court. And that's what I'm going to do here, but I would ask that either the mediators agreed to, or it can be somebody call the dispute resolution clerk and she'll give you the next in line. But I would like Mr. Browning to start to communicate with Ms. Russo as to how we can get some parenting time for your client while we work our way through the front of the court, which, as you know, can take many months. And I'm not going to wait for that to be done. So that's how I'll handle interim parenting time. Mr. Browning, if you want to send a proposal to Ms. Russo is free to counter it. She's free to reject it. If she rejects it, then you may contact the dispute resolution clerk at the county, and that person will prepare Thank you. That person will send it to the next up in line for the mediation. Mr. Browning, is there anything, questions you have relative to what I need the order to say?
No, Your Honor, I think that I have all of that. Requesting our family wizard, we're not requesting, ordering our family wizard in the next 14 days and sending the issue of parenting time to the front of the court, and that we are to attend mediation for an interim schedule. And if we can't agree to the mediator, myself and so, then we will default to the dispute resolution clerk.
Yeah, and I'm maybe between you and Ms. Russo, we can get something in the interim. I don't know if you'll need mediation or not, but I wanted that option in case discussions fall flat. Now, Ms. Russo.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Sound like you wanted to say something.
I don't have a problem offering parenting time and am willing to work something out. However, I would like to point out that, the proposed halfway point probably should be between where he lives and where I live. As well as I'd like to point out that, he's severely in the rearages, but asking me to provide transportation halfway. I make $12 an hour and I'm taking care of our 2 kids.
Yeah, obviously I don't like people in arrears, but that issue is not in front of me today, but I can tell his if Mr. Browning wishes to relay to Mr. Hodges my deep, deep disappointment with not maintaining child support. If I'm asked at a later time to weigh in on the transportation issue, which I'm not, a halfway point's probably a good solution, and I'll tell you why. Because both of you somewhat have a skunk on your porch. Mr. Browning's client is not paying child support, or is in arrears in child support, which makes it tough on Miss Russo. But Miss Russo is also the one that moved. And generally speaking, courts are all over the place with that. Some judges and referees say if you moved, you got to do all the transportation. But I don't think we need to go there. But I will ask Mr. Browning to have a discussion with his client about child support, because the last thing in the world I want to have happen is when the kids are in the car and he's speeding, is to get pulled over and then there's a warrant for child support. That would
They won't let me
be
talk.
that would be
Turn that when he's done.
that would be kind of tough.
Say
Okay.
something.
So, and I don't need you to say anything, Mr. Hodges. You got a very, very good attorney, and your very, very good attorney would take his hand and slap me through the screen if I listened to you without him approving that. So I am not.
So let him approve it,
No, you can
because
talk.
I do pay child support.
No, see, that's the
I do
thing.
pay child support.
That's the thing.
Joshua, let's just let the proofs come out then, okay?
Why is it always when I say that you can't say anything that people say things? I must speak in Latin. I'm going to start working differently from that. Have a happy Valentine's Day, everybody. I'll look for that order, Mr. Browning. And I am a big fan, Ms. Russo, of people that get together and resolve things on their own.
Yes, sir.
So I hope that spirit of cooperation somehow morphs into both you and Mr. Hodges. So thank you both, and we're adjourned.
Thank you. Happy Valentine's Day.
You too.
Thank you, Your Honor.